If you've been trying to learn and memorize scales on the guitar, you might have found it very hard to actually retain the information, to remember the scales you're studying. The reason is that when we learn scales, we do so by repeating patterns and fingerings. And because of that, after a few repetitions, our fingers go on autopilot and they take over. And our brain, which is in fact what is in charge of memorizing, just wanders off. We think we've got the scales memorized, but in fact, that's just our hands doing the same thing over and over and over. And when we do take a break, or God forbid, learn another scale, the previous one is simply replaced, and we get stuck into this endless loop of failed memorization. What we want to do instead is to always have our mind ahead of our fingers. And there's no better way to do that than to keep our mind guessing on its toes. And that's where this exercise comes in. I will assume for this video that you know a few scales, but if you don't fret. I will give you some ideas towards the end of the video on how you can apply it no matter your current level. Also, there are many possible permutations of this exercise, each with its own benefits, and we'll talk about that a bit later as well. But for now, let's assume that you're trying to learn different kinds of scales and you just can't retain them. Maybe it's the major and minors, the pentatonics, the diatonic modes, maybe some more exotic scales, whatever it is. Here's what I want you to do. First of all, pick a guitar position. If you're working with the cage system, it will be 1 to 5. If you're doing 3 notes per string, make it 1 to 7. If you're working on single strings, it will be 1 to 6, and so on. I will demonstrate this with cage, and I will pick position 4 because it starts from the root and it will make it easier for you to follow along. Next, we'll pick a key, and I'm going to go with C again for the sake of clarity. And finally, I'll ask you to pick a few scales you're trying to memorize, and we'll write them down on a few pieces of paper. These could be any scales you're working on, major, minor, maybe add the pentatonics, but for the sake of this video, let's really mix it up. I'll do the major and minor, all the diatonic modes, the pentatonics. I'll do the melodic and harmonic minor, some of those modes, maybe the whole tone scale, anything else I can think of, but really feel free to add as many as you like. If you're on my Patreon, you'll actually be able to download all the patterns that I'm using in this video and try to emulate it for yourself, but you certainly don't need that to follow along. Now that we have our scales ready, let's put them all into the proverbial hat or an aptly chosen guitar pedal box and throw all the papers in there, and you might have guessed it, pick one out at random and see how fast you can play it in the position of your choice. Let's shake it, pick one. Let's see, Lydian dominant. So get back to the guitar as quickly as you can and play. Let's see another one. Minor. Pretty easy, but be careful, we don't want to make any mistakes. This is fun. Whoops. Whole tone, the whole tone scale. Okay, let's do one more. Melodic minor. And you keep doing this until there are no more papers left. Here's a few variations on this exercise that you can use. Variation number 1 is one scale, different position. So you pick a key and you pull a scale out of your hat. Let's say, for example, I pick A as my key and I pull out Lydian, then I'll have to play A Lydian all over the fretboard in all possible positions. This is also great if you don't know many scales to begin with. Variation 2 is to use themes. A theme could be, for example, the modes of a scale. It could be the diatonic modes, but also the modes of the melodic or harmonic minor. Another theme would be all the minor or all the major scales that you know. Another option would be all the scales that work with any given chord. Variation number 3 is to use more than one hat or pedal box. You could have in one hat your scale and in the other your key or your position. As a matter of fact, you could actually have more than 2 boxes, and you can see where all these different permutations will lead you. You can of course make up your own variations to better suit your needs by simply combining the ideas in this video, and if you decide to do that, please let me know in the comments below how you plan on using this exercise. If you need some inspiration as far as scales go, this video here will definitely help you out. As always, a like and a subscribe really helps, and I'll see you on the next one.